Welcome to another Reading Reddit Stories live stream highlights. If you're new here, my name is Sarby. I do reaction live streams, and one of the things I love to react to is Reddit stories. In this video, I read and reacted to 9 extremely juicy Reddit stories. I'm pretty sure a couple of them are updated as well. I gave all my opinions on them, but I would love to hear yours in the comments below on YouTube, or Spotify now has comments. So drop your opinions, hit the subscribe or follow button if you enjoy, and I hope to maybe see you in a live stream in the future. My daughter just contacted me after 17 years asking if I want to meet my granddaughter. Am I the a-hole for telling her that I don't care about her or her daughter and to never contact me again? I am in my 60s now. I was married to my ex-wife and we had a daughter. Our marriage was going through its ups and downs, but I was really close with our daughter. But as our marriage was going through its difficulties, I made a huge mistake I still regret to this day. I started having an affair with my coworker. She was in a violent, physically abusive relationship at home. We became friends at work and things just escalated from there. She got an out from me. She got the support she needed to file for divorce from her husband, who is currently in jail now. The affair went nowhere and we called it off shortly after, but I was glad that she got out of her abusive relationship and that she was safe. Okay, not looking too hot, OP. But when my ex-wife found out about the affair, things expectedly didn't go well. She lashed out and said a lot of horrible things about me to our daughter, who was 15 at the time. I admitted full fault with the affair, but even after the divorce, I sensed that the distance between me and my daughter was growing. Until one day, my daughter said she wasn't going to speak with me anymore and she was going to cut me off from her life forever. That was the most painful thing anyone has ever said to me. I begged her to please reconsider. I still remember that day. But time passed on. My daughter kept her word, and after trying to connect with her for the first year, I gave up. I found out from one of my mutual friends that my ex-wife married a great guy. I was happy because I was hoping that would remove the hatred from my ex-wife, and my ex-wife would advise our daughter to at least rekindle a relationship with me. But that never happened. I moved states a year later. I am at peace now, but I still have some aching sadness. I have retired. Both my parents have passed away. My brother passed away tragically a couple of years ago. To be honest, I am waiting for my turn. I have only my dog and my sister left. A couple of hours ago, my daughter called me on my phone. I haven't spoken to her in 17 years. I instantly recognized her voice, but I didn't feel anything. No happiness, no sadness, just indifference. She was crying a lot on the call. We caught up on life. She's married and has a daughter who's now 12. She apologized for cutting off contact, and she says her mom asked her to reconnect with me as her mom felt guilty about how everything played out. She said she really wanted me to meet her daughter, and her daughter was constantly asking about granddaddy, but I wasn't feeling anything. After we caught up on everything in our life, I told her I don't care about her and her daughter and to never contact me again. I then hung up. Was I the a-hole? Okay, well, before we get into an update here, what a weird reaction. That was just so much him dumbing down exactly how much he fucked up. I had an affair, but it was really just to get this woman out of her violently abusive relationship. Okay, sure, but you cheated. My daughter was 15 at the time, and her mom just really talks shit about me cheating on her. I don't understand why she was so mad. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it's probably because you cheated on her mother. No shit, she's like, I don't fuck with you. He's acting like the daughter did something wrong to him. The daughter was the one taking the high road, and he's acting like for some reason he took the high road. Absolutely the a-hole. I want to see what people are saying in the comments real quick. You're the a-hole. I hate when adults make very bad adult decisions that affect their children and then blame the children when they respond in a very childlike manner. Your daughter was a teenager. That is a rough time for kids, even when their home life is stable. You gave her 1 whole year before you cut bait and gave up on her. Then you moved away. You told your daughter that she wasn't important enough to fight for, and she believed you. Now that she is an adult with a child of her own, she has reached out to you, and you again told her she wasn't important to you. She now knows she was probably right to cut you out the first time. There's nothing this update can say that will make me think maybe that guy was in the right. Look, I was extremely drunk last night. The words which came out of my mouth weren't the best, and my comments on my post weren't great either. Seeing how everyone said I was the a-hole, I decided to call my daughter again an hour ago. I didn't really expect her to pick up the call, but she picked up immediately. I apologized for last night, and she said there was no need to apologize. I then sent her a link to this Reddit post on messages and told her I knew I was the a-hole and that thousands said so. She again said I wasn't the a-hole. She started crying again. He needs this. He deserves this. Tell him he's an asshole. I told her she's free to come to my house anytime the next 4 months, because after that, I will be leaving the country with my sister and our dog. My parents left us a nice farmhouse in their home country, and we will be spending the rest of our lives there. Dog, your daughter just threw out the olive branch for you to be not only a part of her life, but your granddaughter's life, and you're still like, fucking deuces. Oh my God. I sent her my address on messages and my daughter said she'd come with her husband and her daughter by the end of next week. She asked if she was welcome to stay there for multiple days and I told her to stay for however long she wanted as our house was spacious enough. Is it bad? I'm kind of disappointed that there was a happy ending. I kind of want the daughter to be like, you know what, dog? Here's the middle finger. Am I the a-hole for loudly confronting my coworker in front of everyone when she wrongfully believed I had groomed my wife? I am 30 years old and male. My wife, Jessica, is 22. Rough start, brother. Rough start. My wife has a 7-year-old son, Max, whom she had when she was 15 years old. The father, who was her boyfriend in junior high school and is the same age as Jessica, actually left the state when he and his family learned that she was pregnant. Jessica has no idea where he is, and since her family is well off, she didn't really need or care for his support. I met Jessica when she was 20. We dated for a year and then got married when she was 21. I love Max and raise him as if he was my own son. Okay. All right. That makes me feel way better. Last month, Max came to my workplace with Jessica in the early afternoon to surprise me with a lunch outing. As they waited for me to finish up a meeting, the front desk secretary, Claire, chatted with Jessica. I wasn't there for the conversation, but Claire was stunned at how young Jessica looked, and Jessica said she was 22. Apparently, Claire did a bit of napkin math and came out with the following conclusions. 1. Jessica is 22 and I am 30. 2. Max is 7. 3. That means Jessica and I had Max when she was 15 and I was 23. Apparently, from that day on, Claire began gossiping about this. I had no idea what was going on, but I did notice that Claire abruptly changed her attitude towards me, glaring when she thought I wasn't looking or rolling her eyes when I talked to other people. Well, today at work, when I was in the bathroom washing my hands, I overheard Claire gossiping with a new hire about my underaged wife outside the door by the water cooler. I left the bathroom and then walked up behind Claire. She turned around and looked like a deer in the headlights at me. And so I announced loudly, "Hi, Claire. You see, I'm not Max's biological father. In all of your gossiping to other people, you forgot to consider the most obvious possibility, which was that I am his stepfather. I will, by the way, be reporting you to HR for this." I headed directly to HR and explicitly told them what Claire had said, and the manager, a fellow gossip friend of Claire's, asked if I really wanted to escalate over something so small. I said yes. She then told me Claire is a single mother and relies on this job, and that I shouldn't have embarrassed her in front of the whole office like that. I insisted on filing a report. After calming down a bit, I feel kind of bad about what I did. Claire cried at her desk and left early. Was I an a-hole to approach the situation that way? So y'all know I'm not like super pro older people dating people who are barely legal. I will say my mind is a little not made up about that in this situation because she's a mother. A lot of it for me has to do with like stereotypically where are you in your path of life at a certain age, whereas like 18 to 22 is that like college age, and even 22 to 24 is that right out of college age. I think that's weird if you're like a full adult who's been an adult for multiple years and you date someone who's like in college. But for somebody who has had to mature at a much faster rate because they're literally raising a child, I think that's different. I'm going to assume that the maturity level of Jessica has exponentially gone up because she's a mother, and therefore I'm a little bit more okay with OP being 28 when he dated a 20-year-old. I'm gonna go with not the a-hole. The a-hole in this situation is Claire. I get gossip is gossip, but if it's damaging their reputation and you're spreading it around to the entire office, I think it's completely merited to go to HR and be like, yo, this woman literally is like slandering me. Like, people get sued for less, honestly. I don't think OP did anything wrong. Is it kind of a question mark? Sure. Not necessarily a fan. But if there was ever a situation that had a good argument, it would be this one. Am I the a-hole for not telling my parents that the event they were missing was my wedding? So I, 27 female, have a younger brother, Mike, 21 male. He is the definition of a man-child and a mama's boy, always complaining, always expecting others to bow to him. Just overall, an a-hole. Ever since he was born, my parents fussed over him for everything. He's not special needs or had a traumatic birth or anything of that sort. He was just born. And my parents completely discarded me. My mom, 50 female, especially. She went from a loving mother to one of those boy moms that people make fun of on the internet. My father, 50 male, still showed me love and support, but he always been too much of a coward to stand up to my mother and let me win at least once. The only one who stood up for me was my grandpa, 76 male, who always called my parents out on their bullshit and never liked my brother. I reminded him of his late wife, my grandma, and we have a very special bond, but he lives on the other side of the country and I could never see him often. Mike knows our mom prefers him and loves to shove it in my face. Because of this and of his behavior, we've always been at odds. He's spoiled, a brat, and an awful human being. I can't remember how many times I ended up in trouble for things I did better than him or for things he framed me with. His only talent are his football skills. He won a scholarship to a nice college out of state. My parents didn't spend a dime on my education because apparently my fund had been used to cover expenses after a fire. Just for me me to discover years later that said money was given to Mike to buy a car and a house. It's at a public university that I met Lucas. He was the first person I was really drawn to there. Of course, I met new people who are now my dearest friends, and thanks to them and Lucas, who was my best friend for years before we got together, I managed to move out of my parents' house. Now both Lucas and I are well known in our fields and have very good salaries. Now to the main issue. Lucas proposed to me a year ago. We are very private people, so we didn't post it on social media or anything. And when I told my parents, they dismissed it with a, "That's nice." I'm starting to think they downright didn't listen to me at all. We decided that we wanted a nice but simple ceremony and reception with our friends and relatives. Lucas convinced me to invite my parents and brother, but they never responded to the invite. And whenever I went to visit and began to talk about my wedding without mentioning it was a wedding, my mom would always speak over me and about my brother's accomplishments and wild adventures. At one point, I got fed up with it and interrupted my mom to tell her that there was an event I was planning to organize whose date was unmovable. She told me that they couldn't attend because my brother was playing the last game of the season that very same day and wanted them to be there. Of course, this favoritism didn't surprise me. They missed my ballets, shows, both my high school and university graduations for things about him. At this point, I wanted to be petty. I told both my parents that it wasn't a problem to miss this event, purposefully omitting the fact that this event was my wedding and didn't insist further. Flash forward to a few weeks ago, I got married. It was perfect. My family, Lucas's family, and our friends were all there, and we had a blast. My grandpa was happy to give me away, and it was just perfect. My relatives asked me multiple times why my parents weren't there with us. I was honest and simply said they had my brother's game to attend and couldn't come. They gave me a few looks and my grandpa was visibly angry for a while, but otherwise nothing strange happened. After the reception, Lucas and I left for our honeymoon and were phone free for the whole duration of the trip. But once we got back, we discovered that a shitstorm was welcoming us home. I turned my phone on and was unable to even unlock it before a storm of notifications popped up. Most of them were from my mother and brother. Mike called me all sorts of nasty names and insulted me because apparently one of my paternal aunts posted the photos of the wedding on Facebook and captioned it with a very obvious dig at my parents, especially my mom, for missing the wedding. The post apparently went viral in my parents' community and they've been publicly shamed for their mistreatment of me. It also turns out that my grandpa personally visited my parents to go on a tirade to shame my father, his son, to the point of tears. And this seemed to be my father's breaking point because he was so distraught for missing his only daughter's wedding and for his father's disapproval that he finally rebelled against my mom and is threatening divorce until she makes it up to me. I think that's the reason why my mom has been spamming my phone with messages, at first insulting and threatening and then downright pitiful, full of begging and pity parties. I think I just need to finish it and then I can give my thoughts. Now I'm at home with my husband deciding how to approach the situation. Most of my relatives, even those I didn't invite to the wedding, reached out to apologize for what I went through and to claim they had no idea this was happening at home. Can't blame any of my relatives. They all live with my grandpa on the other side of the country or in another state. But my mom's sisters and friends are belittling me for not telling my mom about the wedding because now she's inconsolable at the thought of having missed my wedding. Personally, I think she just claims that to save face, but I'm not sure. The latest messages from my father and mother seem extremely saddened and hurt for missing my wedding. Now my family is divided on three fronts. The majority who is sticking by my side, my maternal aunts shaming me for hurting my mom's feelings, and my maternal grandparents who are adamant that I forgive my mom in light of her atonement. My best friends are telling me not to listen to them. I need to look over this one more time. Lucas convinced me to invite my parents, but they never responded to the invite. If everything they're saying is true and they got an invite and on that invite was a date, no excuses. I don't think OP is the a-hole, but OP could have made it more clear that the mother and father were making the wrong choice. Like, there's almost reasonable doubt because now they have plausible deniability. Still don't think OP's the a-hole. I think the a-hole in this situation are the parents, just for not only missing the wedding, but just how they were as parents, as well as the brother. Hold on, they did add edits that actually help with probably our verdict here. Edit, addressing popular questions. I did inform my parents about the wedding. I sent traditional on-paper invites to all my guests and was notified that all invites had reached their addresses. I did not receive any answer from my parents and Mike, a few very distant relatives, and some people on Lucas's side. I did reach out to all of them through message to double check, and those who hadn't replied told me they couldn't come. I asked my parents and my brother via text, but they didn't respond. I was left on red. Knowing them and given all the things I had to plan, I didn't bother insisting. Okay, if there was a text, I think that's even more of an argument of like, you knew the date, you knew she was trying to get confirmation, you just didn't want to be there. 2, I didn't repeat the date of my wedding because I had already been told there was my brother's game. Plus, every time I insisted on highlighting my celebrations to get an answer, I was always told that I wasn't that important and to not be pissy pussy and a bother, because some things were simply more important than me. At this point, I think it's fair for me to not insist anymore. It's just not worth the effort. 3, I didn't keep my wedding a secret. I avoided telling my parents that it was my wedding to see if they would be interested in the slightest, but surprise, surprise, they weren't. Despite this, I did openly talk about my wedding with my aunts and uncles. My mother was in the room with us a few times when I discussed venues or dress shops with my aunt, the Facebook post one. But sometimes mom was on the phone and other times she was just chatting with other people. She never paid attention. When I talked about it during the reunions, she smiled and said, "That's great, dear," and then would change the subject. Radio silence on Dad and Mike. I kept in contact with him because, well, all the times I tried to go no contact in the past years, I've been harassed. I tried after my high school, bachelor's, and master's graduations, to which they never bothered to show up for reasons involving my brother. Every time, I was shamed for daring to turn my back on my family by my parents, my brother, my maternal aunts, and my maternal grandparents. I think the turning point here is that all those times, Lucas wasn't by my side. We started dating a little after my last attempt at going no contact. And now that I have him here, I feel more confident in my stance. But before that, I wasn't this confident. As I already stated, all my paternal side lives on the other side of the country and wasn't aware of how they treated me. I did try to expose my parents once at 14. My aunts, uncles, and grandpa reprimanded them. They faked being sorry, and then once home, I got the beating and gaslighting of my life for lying. After that, I kept in contact regularly with my paternal side, but omitting my parents' abuse out of fear, which, to be honest, still haunts me to this day. Only grandpa knew, but he was always threatened to be alienated from me if he tried anything. I think you just gotta go no contact with anybody who doesn't support your no contact. It literally sounds like your mom's whole side of the family just sucks. My parents and I are not from the same city. I live in a city an hour drive from my parents' small town, and they don't know my new address because once my brother tried to break in my apartment to steal some cash, and my mother backed him up, claiming that siblings share their goods. Now I moved and I'll be sure not to tell them where I live. What the fuck? My parents didn't buy my brother a car and a house before he even started high school. They bought him a car for his 16th birthday and a house near his college when he began freshman year. They didn't spend the money of my fund right away, and they just lied to me to use it later for my brother, keeping it stored for later in the meantime. Damn. Just damn. Am I the a-hole for ghosting my girlfriend after she nearly killed both of us? So my girlfriend, 20 female, and I, 22 male, have been together for a little over 10 months now. We haven't had any heated arguments or fights except for the fact that she keeps tickling me randomly despite the fact that I've repeatedly told her to never do it again because I can act strangely to it. Something from my childhood which I won't delve into. So homegirl's tapping into some trauma and just refuses to respect his trauma. Holy shit. Now, to get to the current situation, this week I've had my car returned from a paint job and some major look changes, and I was really satisfied with the results. So I took a day off of work and took my girlfriend on a short trip outside the city. We drove to a lake, ate some food, and relaxed for a couple hours until it got pretty dark, and we decided to head back home to get some sleep, as I had to go to work the next day and she had an exam. On the way home, I started talking about how happy I felt with how the paint job turned out, and out of nowhere, she starts tickling me. I pushed her hand away and told her to stop, and then she reached for my ribs with both hands and got me swerving off the road. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, although my car got some deep scratches, but that doesn't even matter anymore. As I already slowed down after her first attempt to tickle me, I'll admit that I told her, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" as soon as we stepped out of the car, and she started crying. But I couldn't care less, as I felt as if my veins were about to pop. When we got home, I told her to pack her things and go to her best friends, but she threw a tantrum and begged me to forgive her for her little mistake. I didn't say a word. I simply stared in disgust and pointed to her luggage. After her friend picked her up, I tried to go to sleep, but my mind was racing, so I barely got any rest. This happened on Tuesday, and she's been blowing up my phone ever since, but I haven't answered any calls or texts and just blocked her. This led to her friend coming to my house and telling me to at least hear my girlfriend out, but I've told her to fuck off and leave me alone, which made her tell me that I'm more in love with a car than with my girlfriend. Nah, dog, he's in love with his life more than his girlfriend. I don't care if you have tickle trauma or not. Don't fucking tickle someone while they're driving a 70-mile-per-hour vehicle that literally determines your life. I don't have tickle trauma. If a girl tickled me while I was driving, I would be pissed. Whether you have trauma or not, that's just stupid. Not only has he told you not to do this thing because it taps into his trauma, but you do it at literally the worst time. Like, I actually don't think there's a worse time than while you're driving to tickle someone. Is homeboy dating Buddy the Elf? Tickle free. Tickle free. Easy, not the a-hole. I can't wait to read this update. Some people talked about me having anger issues. This is not at all true. I've never snapped at her like this for tickling me, let alone hitting her or anything like this, but in the rage of the moment, I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I might consider consider myself to be a calm person, but that doesn't mean I will laugh and giggle through stupid stuff. I think what he said to her was completely merited. You literally almost killed us. What the fuck is wrong with you? I think when you almost kill somebody, it's completely merited to ask them what the fuck is wrong with them. That's not anger issues. That's actually caring about not dying. The actual crash happened at a speed that could have killed us if I swerved in the wrong direction. I was driving on a country road and could have frontally hit a car coming from the other direction, as the speed at which the crash happened was around 40 miles per hour, 65 kilometers per hour. The tickling part and childhood trauma. I've mentioned that to my now ex-girlfriend around 3 months into our relationship, but as many pointed the obvious, I wasn't dating the sharpest tool in the shed, and it took me a while to realize it, so I guess I might be a bit dumb as well, lol. I think I might have misused the term ghosting. In my head, telling her to get out of my house was already a clear sign of our relationship status. Now, to the actual update. After reading nearly all the comments, I took the decision to send my ex a message where I told her we should meet face to face. Some people suggested that I should file for a lawsuit, but my ex is still in uni and her parents can barely afford helping her. She obviously has done an insanely dumb stunt, but I don't want to punish her parents for it. The car is in the process of getting fixed and I can afford it without major financial issues. Still, I took screenshots of her messages in order for me to have some proof in case the situation escalates. So we met earlier at a coffee shop. She looked as if she had been crying for a long time, but it didn't change my mind at all. What shocked me was the fact that she leaned in for a kiss when she saw me, as if nothing happened. I stopped her and told her that we need to have a serious conversation. I explained that what happened wasn't because of the car itself, but because of her disrespecting my boundaries and not thinking for a second about what might happen if she did that thing. Besides that, I also felt disrespected by the fact that her best friend came knocking at my door to demand things, despite not having any rights to do so, which led me to ask my ex if she told her best friend the truth or if she lied about the situation. She said that she only told her friend that we had a small car crash, and I'm pissed at her. Hearing that made me feel disappointed as hell, but I did my best to remain calm. I told her to tell the real story to her friends, and she raised her voice and told me that I'm accusing her of being a liar, something that led to a 15-minute discussion about how the crash was solely her fault and how she put our lives at risk. I asked her if everything's clear to her about our situation, and her response was, "Yep, 100%. Can we go home now?" Wow, homeboy really has to like lay everything out for her. Like, damn. That honestly shocked me. I told her that there's no way we can be back together, and I suggested she should be more careful and considerate with her future partner. Her reaction was all tears, shaking, begging me to reconsider my decision, but I just can't look at her the same. I explained again that for me, it wasn't a small mistake she made. It was a full-on stupid decision that shouldn't be done by an adult, as it could have resulted in something deadly. She just thinks I'm exaggerating, and this back and forth argument led to her asking if there's something else in my life, and I'm just using the accident as an excuse. I denied and told her that she's too selfish to even realize that she broke my trust and disrespects me by saying this crap. And she almost fucking killed you. I don't understand how she's not putting that together. Like, hey man, if you accidentally kill someone and could have easily avoided it, that person's probably not gonna like you that much anymore. I left the coffee shop feeling like I've been talking to a wall, but at least I can't say that I didn't try to have a conversation. An hour ago, her mom texted me asking what happened, and I told her everything. I said that I don't want any money from them, but the only thing I'm asking is for my ex to keep her distance from me. She apologized for what her daughter did and wished me all the best. As for her friend, from my understanding, she just came to my house without talking with my ex on whether she should do it or not. So I guess she just tried to be the main character in this whole story. Am I the a-hole for performing in front of the camera my mom forced me to have in my room? I'm a 17-year-old guy. My mom has always been a bit overprotective. Recently, she took it to the next level by insisting on putting a surveillance camera in my room for my safety. I found it super invasive and uncomfortable, but she wouldn't take no for an answer. So in an act of defiance, I decided to jerk off right in front of the camera every day for a week. While I'm on his side, jerking off for your mom is wild. That's pretty insane. Don't get me wrong. I think it will definitely get your point across, but is he like, you ready for this shit, mom? Is that what's happening? Is that how he does it? I figured if she wanted to invade my privacy, she'd have to deal with the consequences. I made sure to look directly into the camera, making it clear that I knew it was there and I didn't care. Holy shit. After a week, my mom came to me furious. She had finally watched the footage and saw what I'd been doing. She said she was absolutely disgusted and yelled at me for being disrespectful and said I was acting like a child. I told her that if she wanted to invade my privacy, she had to be prepared for what she might see. She took the camera down immediately, but now she's giving me the silent treatment and acting like I'm the bad guy. My dad thinks I went too far, and I think he secretly finds it funny, but he also agrees that having a camera in my room was too much. My sister won't even talk to me anymore after my mom told her what I had done, one, but my friends think it's hilarious and says my mom got what she deserved. I'm not sure how to feel. Am I the a-hole? As fucking crazy as that is, I think that's the way you get your point across. And I'm trying to think too. I think 17-year-old me would have done the exact same thing. I would have been like, yo, you want a camera? I'll show you a fucking camera. It's called my penis. Like, what did she expect? How did she not put that together? Like, a 17-year-old boy? There wasn't much I was doing other than jerking off at 17. Am I the a-hole for not telling my ex-wife that I reversed my vasectomy? My ex-wife, Jen, 38 female, and I, 42 male, were married for 8 years before divorcing during the pandemic 4 years ago. We have 2 kids together, 13 male and 10 female, who we share custody of and co-parent well together. At her suggestion, I got a vasectomy after our daughter was born. I got remarried about a year ago to my new wife, Carrie, 34 female. Carrie does not have kids, but has always wanted a family. After many discussions prior to our engagement, I agreed to reverse my vasectomy to try to start a family with Carrie. I had the reversal procedure done just after our wedding. Carrie and I found out about a month ago that she is pregnant. She is currently about 15 weeks. We have not told anyone about the pregnancy until recently. I just wanted to wait until I had an opportunity to tell my kids in person that they are going to have a younger sibling. Now that they are done with school, I had the chance this past weekend. Both of my kids were very excited and happy to hear the news. They got along great with Carrie and are excited to have a new baby bro slash sis. After I told the kids, they wanted to call their mom and tell her about it too. I was a little apprehensive because I didn't know how Jen would react and tried to convince them to let me tell her first, but my son ended up telling her via text before that. Jen sent me a text a few minutes later, basically asking me what the fuck I was thinking. I texted her back saying that I would prefer not to have this conversation over text and asked if she was free for a chat. She said she wasn't and sent a flurry of texts asking me a bunch of questions. I again told her I would prefer to have this conversation in person or on the phone. She finally called me later that night and was not happy. She told me that I should have told her I reversed my vasectomy so that she could talk to our kids about it. I told her that my body and my life with Carrie was not her business and that neither of our kids even know I had a vasectomy, let alone know what a vasectomy is. I've never told them I had one, so why would I tell them I reversed it? Yeah, homegirl's just jealous. You just didn't want him to procreate with another woman. She told me that since this is going to have a huge impact on our kids' lives, that I should have told her about it first. She said that it is her business when it will directly impact our kids. I told her that it is my body and that my health choices are of no concern to her anymore. The conversation started getting heated and I ended the call before things got too far. Jen has since calmed down and did send a text congratulating me and Carrie, but she still maintains that I should have notified her of my decision to reverse my vasectomy before things got to a point where Carrie is pregnant. She thinks that she had a right to know since it will impact our kids. I think she has no right to any information regarding what I decide to do with my body unless it is life-threatening. My marriage and life with Carrie is not information that my ex-wife has any right to. I have to agree with that. Yeah, sure, it's going to impact your kid's life, but so is what they're going to eat for dinner that night. It will in some way impact those kids' lives, but not in a way that this ex-wife has to get up all in their business. Is a child a little bit bigger than dinner? Sure. But it's their child. It is not Jen's child, especially if the kids were super happy about it. Like, maybe if the kids had a negative reaction to it, I still don't think that completely merits him having to tell the ex-wife about him and his new wife trying to conceive a baby. Am I the a-hole for slapping a teenager? I, 32 female, was at a water park this last weekend with my husband, 32 male, and my daughter. We were in one of the pools practicing swimming and keeping to ourselves. There was a group of teen boys there, and while I was working with my daughter on swimming, one of them came up behind me and I felt a tug on the strings of my top, untying it. I spun around, saw this 15 to 17-year-old with a smirk and slapped him. This quickly caused a scene. The park staff got involved as well as the boys' parents who were livid at me. My husband and another lady saw it happen and confirmed that he really did grab my top. There was also camera around the pool that kind of showed it wasn't the best angle. The boys' parents threatened assault charges and I threatened sexual assault charges if they decide to go that way. Eventually, we were both asked to leave and haven't heard anything since. My husband, though, still thinks I overreacted a bit, which I don't. What a fucking pussy of a husband, dog. I don't care what age you are. Like, someone tries to sexually assault the person that you've decided you're gonna spend your life with, you die on that hill. That's not an overreaction. She should have hit him harder. Not the a-hole. Very easy. Fuck around and find out is rated E for everyone. Am I the a-hole for suspecting my wife of doing something awful at her friend's bachelorette week in Mexico? She spent virtually $0 and took no pictures. My wife went to Mexico last week for a friend's bachelorette party, and aside for the plane ticket, the hotel, and the first day's food and drinks, she didn't spend a penny all week. I mean, on the credit card, it's as clear as day that on Monday, up until about 9 p.m., she was buying dinner, stuff at the hotel shop, drinks at the bar, souvenirs, and then at 9 p.m., she didn't spend another cent the entire week until she was at her layover airport in Dallas. She says says it's because her friend took over and paid for everything. I guess this is plausible, but it still is giving me a funny feeling. What is worse is that my wife is a person who posts her entire life on Instagram, on TikTok, mostly Instagram, but if she does anything from get a latte to picking the kids up at school, she will post it either as a picture or as a story. The last thing she posted on TikTok was the trend of people jumping into their vacation from the airport, and after that, her social media is blank. I was kind of keeping an eye on it because I was excited for her to go on the trip, and again, I guess it's plausible, but it gives me a funny feeling. When she got home, I said I can't wait to see all the pics she took, and she really blew me off and said that she just didn't feel like taking pics that week. She has also been incredibly distant, and last night she said she just felt like sleeping on the couch because the AC hits better. This is 100% true, but I swear I heard her talking on the phone in the middle of the night. When I got up to check on her, I accidentally tripped over the dog and made a huge racket, so when I got downstairs, she appeared to be asleep. I brought all of this up this morning and said I'm not accusing her of anything, but all this put together is making me feel uneasy. I wasn't trying to bait her or fight with her, just get my feelings on the table. She said, "You are a major effing a-hole for bringing this up on her first day back at work." I said I wasn't trying to pry, just communicating with her, and she said, "Your communication is prying and I'm not discussing this with you ever again." She then took the kids to summer camp and left. There are edits to this. They look like updates, but I want to give my opinions first. I'm gonna go with not the a-hole because I do think a change in behavior, especially around like social media posting, flexing, around finances, I think that is very valid to notice irregularities. I will say I think you jumped the gun on the accusation. I think the accusation needs to come when there's at least a little bit of physical evidence that you can bring to the table. And it's honestly probably worse that you addressed it first because now she's gonna try to be more tricky about hiding it. So edits, which are kind of updates. So I realized that her text probably synced to our iPad, so I just checked. It took me a while to figure out the passcode, but I did. But there was an iMessage at 9:15 the night she got to the resort from a number with no contact info that said, "Okay, I'll meet you in the lobby. Is the app you said Signal?" I looked up Signal. It's kind of like WhatsApp. The iPad doesn't have Signal on it. Edit 2. If you've been following my comments, you've seen that my sister is coming over and she's an insane internet sleuth and is relentless when it comes to this cheating stuff. She also scares me a bit, so I'm hoping this isn't a mistake. I'm going to probably stop responding for a while so we can talk and she can do her thing. I am numb, but she can do this. Edit 3. She cheated. My sister was able to get lots of info from the real estate guy and my wife denied it at first, but then admitted it. Sorry it took so long to update, but I'm numb, have literally zero idea what to do now. Okay, dog. Who is this real estate guy? That was like a huge jump. Where's the tea? Where's the evidence? Edit 5. I know people really want updates. We've been talking, arguing, screaming, threatening all day long. I'm more confused than I was this morning, that's for sure. But I'm also confused, exhausted, sad, upset, nervous, and I don't know what to do. I did make a preliminary appointment with a family law attorney tomorrow to talk about protecting assets and how to navigate the legal way ahead regardless of what I choose to do. I'm really hoping to sleep tonight. My sister still has the kids and they are having a blast and went to the lake with her boyfriend's family today, so I'm glad they are in good hands. I want to know the details. This was 6 days ago. Let me see if there's like posts maybe. That's so sad. They posted in r/Tucson, in town on business and don't feel like being stuck in a hotel room. Is there an adult bar where I will feel at home and just cry into a beer, maybe have a conversation if I want? This is so sad. I'm devastated, dog. This follow-up post is the most crushing thing I've ever seen in my life. I hope OP takes everything from that wife and leaves her in the dust. Am I the a-hole for going off on my wife because she teases me even though our bedroom is dead? Before we get into the last story, if you enjoyed the video and think that I earned your subscribe, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. And on top of that, if you're looking to dive deeper into our community and into my videos, I would highly recommend joining our Discord. The link to that should be in the description. As well as recently, I did start a free, let me say that again, free Patreon where I'm going to be posting these videos a week early, as well as other exclusive content that won't be posted anywhere else, once again, completely for free. Both of those links are in the description. If you join one or both, make sure to tag me when you're in. I, 32 male, am married to my wife, 32 female, for 6 years and together for 9 years. Our sex life gradually diminished into nothing after the 3rd year of our marriage. We do not have children as of now. I handle my part of chores in the household, if not even more due to me working from home and being available mostly. I do show her non-sexual attention and gestures such as massaging, kisses, being emotionally available, and other things. I explain these because people tend to find fault from my side first after I tell them about the situation. I tried to have many talks with my wife about it, but it all boils down to, we are not married just for sex, stop thinking with your thing down there, and so on. However, she does not stop herself from teasing me. She'll talk about sex, but just reject me afterwards and go to sleep. She'll be flirty, but nothing in the end. I asked her if it's a kink. kink, and if it is, I'm not comfortable with such a thing, especially as our sexual life is in shambles. She said it's not a kink and she genuinely does not feel in the mood. I told her to stop teasing me then. That's weird. If not horny, don't do things to make your partner horny. Yesterday was our anniversary and we had a great date together. She implied sex and teased me a lot during our time. I was hopeful that we'll do something in the end. Guess what? Once we stepped inside the house, she just showered and went to bed. Cool. I think I should approach. I tried and got rejected in the end. I lost it at the moment and just shouted my frustration at her. I told her I'm going to divorce her. I packed my clothes and some important belongings and left for a hotel. She tried to stop me but could not. She's been calling me nonstop, but I just need peace of mind right now. It's just frustrating. Being together with someone but feeling alone and unwanted sucks. On top of that, she gives me hope only to destroy it. I called my lawyer friend this morning and we'll start the divorce proceedings this Monday. I am just done at this point. I'm gonna go with not the a-hole here. Maybe there's an argument that the jump to divorce is too quick, but genuinely, if he's been dealing for this for a good chunk of the marriage, and she keeps not only not trying to improve their sex life, but also teasing it when he clearly has said, I don't like this, it gets my hopes up and makes me more mad, then I think he's totally merited in doing what he needs to do to be happy at this point. Update. Just came back from local courthouse after presenting the divorce intention document to the family court. My friend filled out my info on a one-pager draft and that was it. I called my wife to let her know I started the process and I am okay with 50-50 everything. She called for marriage counseling and told me I should take what I did back. I realized I am extremely burnt out from trying and do not want to try anymore. That's what 3 years of trying with no results does to someone, I guess. I told her we can have separation counseling near the end of the divorce so we can understand the relationship from each other's points and end it amicably. She tried to talk about it with me, but I asked her to please make it easy for both of us and hung up. She's messaging me and calling me still, but I have no intention of talking to her if lawyers are not involved right now. My lawyer friend told me it's okay to leave the house as we do not own it anyways. I'll be staying with my parents for now. Next update will be once the divorce is completed. Hopefully it will be in a few months, not years. I think he's making the right choice, especially if he came to that sober realization of like, oh my God, I'm just so exhausted. I don't even want to try. I just want this to be over. Yeah, that marriage has been over probably for a long time. If you're looking for more messy Reddit stories, click the link at the top of the description or click one of the videos popping up on the screen right now. The members of our community love these videos, and I'm sure you will too.